A new year brings with it new opportunities and a chance to reflect and ask, God, what have you been doing in my life over this last year? And where might you be leading me? And with that, how might you be asking me to trust you just a little bit more with my life and my recovery as you lead me into this next season?
Recovery can be hard, but it's worth it. There is hope knowing we can find healing one step at a time with Jesus and healthy community. Whether you're struggling with a hurt or a hang-up or a habit, you're not alone. During this podcast, we share real stories, practical tools, and powerful truths that inspire you to keep moving forward. No matter where you are on your journey, there's hope ahead. So stick with us as we walk this path together through Celebrate Recovery.
Well, hey everyone, welcome back to Hope in Recovery, a Fellowship Celebrate Recovery podcast where we have recovery conversations and life change stories that help push us down the road to healing just a little bit closer in our walk with Jesus as we pursue hope and healing and purpose in Him. And I'm so excited this morning for this conversation, just thinking through as we're standing right on the edge of 2026 this week, what does it look like for us to lean in and ask, God, what are you doing and where are you asking me to grow as you lead me forward? And as always, if you're getting something out of these conversations, please would you mind liking and subscribing, sharing this and maybe giving it a review. It helps to get the word out so that more people can walk in this same hope that we found. Let me introduce myself before we jump into the conversation here. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus. I struggle with anxiety and depression, sexual addiction, and grief. And my name is Andy. And I'm so grateful that I've got the privilege of being able to help lead our Celebrate Recovery down at Fellowship Fayetteville. And just super grateful for what God is doing through Celebrate Recovery at Fellowship as a whole, Fellowship Rogers, Bentonville, Fayetteville, but also at here in Northwest Arkansas in the world. It's amazing to see the healing that Jesus is working. Standing on the edge of 2026, it is reminding me a little bit of just the opportunity that it gives us to ask God, where are you leading me? My wife and I got married in January, about 8 years ago at this point. A January wedding isn't super great for a honeymoon to the Bahamas. And so the cruise that we took wasn't, it was great. It just wasn't fantastic weather that you would think sitting on a beach. But, a January wedding for us has brought with us an anniversary in the month of January that has allowed us throughout the years to implement actually a really cool rhythm of reflection in our lives, in our marriage, in our family, in our work, in our recovery. And it looks like us sitting down each year and just asking the questions, hey, what went well this year? Where do we feel like God is leading us? What didn't go great this last year? And where prayerfully do we want God to take us over this next year and maybe even over the next few years? And what I've learned from doing that consistently is that I feel like God gives us really consistent points throughout the year and throughout our lives where there's a changing of seasons, and with that changing of seasons, it gives us an opportunity to reflect and to prayerfully ask God to lead us into this next stage. And I think the turning of the year is probably one of those most natural moments in just the rhythm of life. And I think it could be really helpful in our recoveries to just kind of take a second and ask, God, what are you doing? And it reminds me a lot of a prayer that we pray very often in Celebrate Recovery. It comes out of Psalm 139, verses 24 and or 23 and 24. It says this: "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." And I love that prayer, one, because it's short and it's helped me to be able to remember it throughout the years. But two, it's got a couple different things in there that I think are helpful for us as we think through reflecting on this last year. The first is inviting God into that reflection and asking Him, God, would you search my soul? Would you know my heart? And for me, that prayer looks like, God, I know there's been a lot that has happened over the last 12 months. I know there's been wounds that have happened that maybe I haven't grieved. I know that there's been joys that have happened that maybe I haven't celebrated. And God, I know that there's even things that I don't even know how to categorize that are there that I'm holding on to. And so, God, would you search me? Would you know my heart? Would you point out what you see in there? And then it's a prayer, God, don't just show me what's going on. God, lead me. Show me the way forward. How do I step into where you're calling me in this season right now? And so I wonder, as you reflect on your recovery over this last year, I think those two things that we just said, the things that we need to grieve and the things that we need to celebrate. What are the honest wounds that have happened that maybe you've been holding on to and just kind of powering through? Maybe today, even in this time, if you've got your phone with you or maybe you got your journal open, maybe you jot some of those things down just to start the ball rolling for processing. I know for me, as I think back on this past year, there's been hard conversations with people that I really dearly love. There has been situations that I've had to step into that I didn't have the answers and just kind of had to walk through it, and it was messy and it was tough, and I think I'm still carrying some shrapnel in it. There's been hard things personally, as there's been things going on with health of family members and grief that has come with that. There's been just stress of life. I've got 2 kids. I've got a now 5-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, and I've never been a parent before. And so I'm trying to figure out, what does this look like? And I don't know if anybody on here is a parent, but one of the things that I realized becoming a parent is that God wanted to use that to show me all the ways that I still need to surrender to Him. And maybe you can relate to that. And so in all of it, there's been just these patterns that I'm kind of asking God, show me, help me see these things. And if there are things that need to be grieved, can I allow myself space to go, God, that hurt. Would you come into my grief? Would you help me to heal that? Would you be the one that steps into that space? A great thing that, as I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, that they shared was just the simple formula of, when blank happened, I felt blank, and God, would you heal blank? Maybe that's the prayer that you're praying this morning. But it's not just the things that we mourn, it's also the things that we celebrate. One of the things that I realized for me as a part of my story is that I had a really hard time jumping into recovery, handling strong emotions on either side. Whether it was really, really low emotions, felt like, man, that's too much, I can't bring other people into that. Or actually really, really big and excited emotions, it was like, no, that's definitely way too much. Like curb your enthusiasm, Andy. What are you doing here? But when we don't allow ourselves to feel either ends of those spaces, it kind of gets hung up in our heart. And maybe there's some really good things that happened this last year. And you need to give yourself space to go, God, thank you. Thank you that this happened. Maybe you need to call a friend and go, hey, this happened at work and I never got a chance to celebrate it. Can you just be excited with me in it as well? Happiness wants to be shared. And when we can't share the happiness, the happiness is incompletely expressed. And so, God, what are the joyful things that happened this year that I want to celebrate? And can I use that as a point of gratitude to say, God, thank you? You know, I had somebody this past year, or actually this past week, sorry, which was a part of this past year, but somebody this past week said, hey, what is the nicest thing that somebody has said to you recently? And I had a really hard time answering that question because there was 1,000 things that were coming up that were negative. We really easily remember the negative. Recovery has taught me that I need to learn to remember the positive too. And so what are those positive things in there? And then asking God in that space, okay, Lord, what am I still holding on to from this year? What was hard? God, what were the joyful things that I saw? What am I excited about? The next thing is, God, where are you leading me? Well, what is in front of me? And God, what do you want me to do about it? And as I think through, hey, where is God leading me? I think through a couple things. The first is opportunities that God has placed in front of me. God, are there things that are true now that weren't true before, as far as opportunities that maybe it feels like you are orchestrating for me to be able to step into? Are there ways that I can serve that maybe you're opening the door towards? Are there areas within my life and my family that you're asking me to step into? So opportunities. Those might be things to do, but those also might be things to lean into. Maybe it's an opportunity to meet with your sponsor more regularly. Maybe it's an opportunity to join this step study that's getting ready to open. Maybe there's a schedule that's freed up so you can, lean in a little bit more to certain areas of your recovery or hobbies or things like that. God, where are you leading me? I think joys are another thing that kind of help us know, hey, what things are bringing life to my heart that, God, you want me to lean into? And then the third thing is, what are maybe some concerning patterns that are popping up in my life? Have I noticed that I'm really distracted recently? Have I noticed that I'm running to food more than I used to? Have I noticed that maybe some old struggles have cropped up, or maybe there's some patterns of thinking that I'm aware of, but maybe I'm not real sure if I want to lean into? Is there a relationship in my life where I need to draw some boundaries, but maybe I'm a little scared to do that? What are those things going on in your heart and your life? And God, help me to step into it. What things are you asking me to surrender to you to help me to walk forward in this? And I think of Hebrews chapter 12 when I think about these things. It's Hebrews 12:1. It says, therefore, since we have such a great cloud of witnesses around us, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, so that we can run this race marked out for us, run with endurance this race marked out for us as we fix our eyes on Jesus. And so what are those things that are hindering me right now? Those things that I'm like, man, I wish this wasn't something that feels like is tripping me up. Maybe there's some overt sin issues that are going on that I need to bring God and others into. But Lord, what is it, and where are you leading me so that I can run this race with perseverance? But as we consider stepping into some of those areas, there's some roadblocks that come up from time to time that maybe keep us from fully surrendering the things that maybe God is bringing to mind. And we're going to go to a break real quick, but as soon as we get back, we're going to talk about what are some things that at least I've seen in my life, 3 fears that I've seen in my life. Talk about it right after the break.
Hey friends, you might be wondering if Celebrate Recovery is for me. One of the things that is pretty common to think is that Celebrate Recovery must only be for people who struggle with drugs or alcohol. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, out of all the people who attend Celebrate Recovery around the world, over 2/3 of them come in for an issue other than drugs or alcohol. Some of the reasons someone might attend Celebrate Recovery are for codependency, anger issues, sexual addiction, being an adult child of family dysfunction, eating disorders, struggling with effects of abuse, or maybe mental health issues. And that's just to name a few. We truly believe that everyone can benefit from Celebrate Recovery. If there's an issue in your life that's holding you back or causing you pain, Celebrate Recovery is for you. Every Friday night, we have Celebrate Recovery meetings at Fellowship Fayetteville and Fellowship Rogers. 6 o'clock, we have a great meal and a time of connection with other brothers and sisters in recovery. And then we have our large group meeting at 7, followed by our open chair groups at 8. It's the same schedule on both campuses, different teachers, different worship teams, but the same great experience. And we would love for you to join us this Friday night. It is never too late to start or start over again. For more information, check us out at fellowshipcr.org.
All right, we're back. Asking the question, God, what have you done this past year? Lord, where are you leading me? What things do I need to mourn? What things do I need to celebrate? And God, how are you asking me to trust and surrender these things to you? And, sometimes when it comes to that moment of trust and surrender, there can be some fear that kicks up in our heart that becomes a roadblock, a blockage to us fully leaning in to where God is leading us after we've said, God, what are you doing? Where are you leading me? Stepping forward can be tough. And as I think about my life and my recovery, there's 3 fears that I feel like have come up for me that I just have to constantly be aware of. The first fear is this. It's the fear of being known, which seems like kind of a funny fear for me to even just say out. I've been in this recovery journey for a little while now. I've been through several step studies. I've been leading for a while now. But yet I still feel like from time to time there are things that come up in my heart and my life as God is so faithful to peel away the next layer of my heart where I'm asking God, I don't know if I feel safe bringing this up. It's this fear that says, okay, I have grown in this part of my life, but if I admit this, man, what are people going to say of me? And it's so funny that I even say that because I know that was one of the main operating fears that kept me out of recovery in the first place. And when I first jumped into this recovery journey, and maybe you're in the beginning of your journey too, and you're feeling this, man, if I really bring my full heart to the table, what are people going to do with that? Are they going to hold it well? Or are they going to say, whoa, 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 we don't want this here? Is it okay? Is it safe to risk being known? And I think one of the things that I've realized is that vulnerability, no matter how long I've been in this process, is always a risk. It's always a risk, no matter how long I've been in this journey, to say, I need a little bit of help. I feel like God is doing this in my life. But here's what I've learned, that the evidence of struggle or the presence of struggle is not the evidence of failure. Just because there's a struggle going on in my heart and life doesn't mean that I need to wallow in self-defeat. Could it be the case that the presence of struggle is actually evidence of God's grace, that He wants to grow me? That He's giving me and showing me an area where He's saying, like Jesus did in Matthew 11, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. You see, what's amazing in this recovery journey is all of us have stuff. I've got stuff that I'm working through. I've got grief and I've got anger and I've got fear that I'm working through right now. But it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. In fact, one of the things that marks us as humans is that we're broken people living in a broken world. At some degree, we're always not okay, but in Jesus, we find healing. We do find progressive freedom walking through this life. And so it's okay to not be okay, but what's not okay is to choose to stay there. Lean in. There's always a way forward. And I've got to remind myself of that. And so maybe you're new to this process, and maybe that fear of being known is a big thing. Maybe you know the area that God wants to lead you into, but maybe you're a little scared of following him into that. Because what if? And maybe you've been doing this for a long time and you've thought, oh, it was okay to be known in this struggle, but this struggle over here, whoa. That's too much. Man, it's so funny how quickly we can celebrate God's power to change us in one area, but doubt his power to change us in another. And I'll use I and me statements. It's so funny how I can do that in my own heart. So the fear of being known. But here's another fear, and I feel like this fear kicks up whenever I get past the fear of being known, and I'm like, okay, let me step into this. It's the fear of the unknown. What's going to happen? Who am I going to be without this struggle in my life? What does the future look like? What do tomorrow's problems have in store for me? And, it's good to honor that fear in our heart and to go, man, why is it scary? If I fear handing over a coping mechanism, like I feared handing over alcohol, like I feared handing over pornography, like who am I going to be without these things? What will my social interactions look like if I don't have alcohol? What does my loneliness look like if I don't have this false form of intimacy and pornography? What does it look like in my life if I don't have anger to fire up and to speak my needs out? Those things are real things that we wrestle with, and it's okay to kind of wonder, what does it look like without those things? But know that the future isn't ours to hold. The only thing that's really in our control is, how do I take the next step forward right now? And here's the encouragement in it. I love what it says in Deuteronomy 31:8, that the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Our God brings up the things in our heart and our life. Could it be the case that whenever he does that, it's because he's already gone before us in that? And he's so stinking faithful that he plans on walking with us in that? Because it's the truth. He does. He's with us. He's not leaving us in the journey. And so even though there's a great quote by Oswald Chambers that says this, that faith never knows where it's being led, but it knows and trusts the one that is leading it. And so could we trust the one that is leading us in there? But that fear of the unknown can be a paralyzer. And then finally, the fear of failure. The fear of failure that says, if I commit to this, if I step forward into this, what if I fall flat on my face? I've tried 1,000 times before with this. Why is this one going to be any different? What if I fail? What if it doesn't work? That's a paralyzing fear. And I know for me, that's something that I've wrestled with in my life. What if I don't measure up? What does that say about me? Here's the reality. Recovery, entering into a process of healing, it always comes with it a risk. It comes with it a risk that, hey, it's going to be messy. And in fact, I think there's a guarantee that it's going to be messy. We're not going to get everything right away. Could it be the case that that's okay? We say a lot that recovery is about progress, not perfection. And I heard Rodney say a couple weeks ago that, momentum always beats perfection. Every single time. it's not about whether or not we do it right or not. It's about, am I taking a step forward? Because that step forward is doing it right. Showing up is doing it right. Being a part of the process is doing it right. Just trying is doing it right. And so when we lean into following Jesus, it's not about whether or not we get it right. It's what Jesus has already done right on our behalf. I love so much what it tells us in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 8. It says, while we were still sinners, it says this, but God demonstrated his own love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. You see, it is not because of how put together I am or how well I walk this life that Jesus has chosen to love me and walk with me and change me. It is because of what he's already done on my behalf that I get to walk in the freedom that he's bought. You see, recovery is hard, recovery is messy, but it's worth it. It's a risk that is worth taking every single time. And I love what God tells us in the book of James. In James chapter 4, he says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. You see, this journey of recovery, it isn't something that we try to get right and walk right and do right so that we can be with Jesus. If we're on the journey, Jesus is with us. If we're on the journey, Jesus is walking alongside us, guiding us, and it's his power that's at work in us, changing us. Our job is just to take the next right step forward today. And so as you think about this coming year, what are the next right steps that God is asking you to take? What are the areas of your heart that he is leaning into, saying, son or daughter, come to me. Take my yoke upon you, and I will give you rest. You'll find rest for your souls, as it says in Matthew 11. And do we have the courage to step forward, knowing that in that place of humility and need, God does incredible things? In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, it says, our strength is found. Our strength is actually found when we allow ourselves to be made weak in front of Jesus, because it's his strength being made perfect in our weaknesses, because his grace truly is enough for you and I. And hey, as you're walking in this next season, as you're trying to ask, hey, God, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I lean into you? We want to invite you to a really special night that we're having at Celebrate Recovery at our Rogers campus and Fayetteville campus, 7 o'clock on January 2nd. It's our Nail It to the Cross service. It's a time where we reflect on a lot of what we've just been talking about in here. God, where are you leading me? And God, how are you asking me to surrender to you? And so we would love to see you, especially this coming Friday night at 7 o'clock at our Fellowship Rogers and our Fellowship Fayetteville campus for a sweet night of surrender as we step into this new year, knowing that we're not alone, that God is with us, and we've got an incredible forever family around us to walk with us on the journey. And we hope to see you there.